What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a wide receiver football IQ quiz. We're going to be going over 3 specific examples of when wide receivers should use certain routes, certain moves in each given coverage situation. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you would like a daily wide receiver on-field workout schedule with all the drills you should be doing for route running, press releases, your hands, check out that very first link in the description below for our 4-week on-field schedule 2.0 for wide receivers. It's kind of our advanced version of the original version 1 of our wide receiver on-field workout schedule, but it's got 100 plus drills, a little bit more on the advanced side with the exact sets, reps, and video examples of each one. So check out that very first link below if you're interested, fellas. Let's get started. So how this is going to go down is I'm going to show a pre-snap look here like this example on the screen, and I'm going to ask you guys a question about a route that you would run against this specific look. I'm going to give you guys a chance to pause the video, think about what you would do, and then we're going to go over the answer, okay? So first example here is we're talking about how you guys would run a post route versus this coverage here from this safety number 21. So he's lined up inside shade. He's off about 8 to 10 yards. So how would you guys run a 8 to 10 yard post versus inside shade off man coverage? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. All right, you guys can go ahead and play the video, and we're going to break this thing down. So I'm going to play at full speed. So if you guys said that you would want to attack the outside shoulder of the DB to flip his hips, you would be correct. So the reason why that would be correct, some of you probably said, oh, if he's inside shade, what I would want to do is I would want to stem him to the inside. I'd want to stem him. I'd want to try to attack his leverage. But the whole reason that this DB is lined up inside shade on this side of the hash is why. He's trying to protect the inside. He's trying to force everything to the outside because the outside is where his help is. Now, sometimes you'll see, especially out of the slot or especially out of a receiver spot where your split is cut down, if he's the outside wide receiver, you'll see a lot of DBs line up outside shade. And they're outside shade because they have safety help. So they want you to essentially just run the post. But when he's inside shade, his help is the sideline. He's trying to force every single route to the sideline. Do not give up the post and do not give up the dig, the slant, whatever it might be. So as a wide receiver, what this guy does here is he starts to kind of stem to the inside to start, right? And that's completely fine. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, he didn't just go right at the outside shoulder. He stemmed to the inside first. And that's totally fine. That's something that you could absolutely do. But the end game of this route is needing to attack the outside shoulder. The goal on a post route, obviously, like let's say, for example, the play is like, let's say, for example, he's like the outside wide receiver and we have a slot wide receiver and it's like a double post concept. And you're running a double post, but you got man coverage on the outside and you dig this inside stem and break on this post, you're going to end up running right next to this other post. Or you're going to end up running into a route on the other side of the field if you're in this specific case. So I can't take this big inside stem and try to just square him up. I have to keep spacing, but I also have to make sure I keep timing with my QB on this specific route. So what he decides to do is, like we said, attack the outside shoulder. He stems inside to start. Now he's attacking the outside shoulder because the goal is to get him to flip his hips. We are not going to be able to break this in front of him. We are going to have to slip underneath him. So we attack the outside shoulder, but it's important that we sell vertical when I attack the outside shoulder. So I need to be running in full stride. I need to be running in full speed. My hips and shoulders need to be committed to the fade because that's the only way that we're going to get this DBs to turn his hips. It's the same type of principles that apply on every route. We have to be a salesman with the route, and you're a salesman with your speed, your stride, and your body language. So let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. If you said to make sure that we attack outside shoulder in this case, you would be 100% correct. Let's play it again, full speed. Great job with the inside stem to start, closing space, but threatening vertical by attacking the outside shoulder. Okay, so now, next example we have here is we are going to be talking about outside shade press coverage. How would you guys run a fade route versus outside shade press, and you're a little bit inside of the top of the numbers? Outside shade press, and you're running a fade route. So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about what your answer would be. So you guys go ahead and pause it. All right, let's break this thing down. So like we were talking about in the last example, we had inside shade coverage and the guy was on the hash mark, right? Or the receiver was on the hash mark, the DB was on like the inside of the hash mark. So he was inside leverage. Inside leverage, trying to take away the inside. When a DB is lined up outside leverage, what is he trying to take away? He's trying to take away the outside. He does not want to let this wide receiver take an outside release and run a fade, run an out route, a comeback, a corner. And now this DB is smart because he's lined up outside shade because look at the wide receiver split. This wide receiver isn't lined up on the middle of the numbers, the bottom of the numbers, not even the top of the numbers. His split is cut down. So usually wide receivers who cut their split down like to do what? They like to run outside routes because now they're using this space that they created to the sideline. So that's why that DB's outside shade. He's playing this thing smart. So if I have to run a fade route, let's play this full speed and let's see what he does. He attacks him, gives a move outside attack in that leverage, and he takes the inside release on this fade. So that is kind of one of those things that a lot of wide receiver coaches don't like. They will say, oh, you never want to take the inside release on a fade route because you're going to be running into a safety. And yes, that is true if you do not restack. But you can 100% take that inside release on a fade route if it's not something we call an MOR. So what's an MOR? MOR is something that we call must outside release. So usually an MOR is on a play concept where you have to run a fade and the slot wide receiver is running a 5-yard out. It's a great cover 2 thing. It's like a cover 2 thing. So when this DB is in charge of like the flats, you take the outside release because one, if he bites on the 5-yard out, you got a lot of space before the safety can come over and make a play. Also, if this safety or if this DB runs with you and turns his back, we got the 5-yard out. So that's what an MOR is. But when you don't have an MOR, let's say it's just a regular 4 verts concept, everybody's going vertical, you can 100% take an inside release on a fade. You just have to make sure that we stack. So when we come off the line, if you guys said that you want to attack his leverage outside, try to threaten him outside to move him, and then take the inside release, you would be correct. You wouldn't just want to just run. That's another mistake that guys will make. Because we know, again, when he's outside shade and he's in press, he's got what to the inside? He has help. He wants us to just take off and run to the inside, especially when he has some space, especially when there's like 2 to 3 yards of space. He's hoping that Stewart right here will just take off and go run to the inside so the DB can get hands and reroute him. So what we have to do is let's threaten him where he doesn't want me to go. He's outside leverage, doesn't want me to go outside. Let's threaten him to the outside. Because if I could get him to jump outside, that opens up an opportunity for me to the inside. But you have to make sure this one, I honestly think he may have taken this a little bit too wide to the inside. I would like to see him go hip to hip with him and get skinny so he could stack. That just makes an easier throw for the QB. But if you just drift inside, drifting right into the safety, and it's exactly what the DB wants you to do, and your receiver coach, that's when he gets all over you for taking that inside release. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Stewart attacking the outside shade and then being able to run this fade route. Just make sure we are tight to that stack, fellas, if you take an inside release on a fade. Okay, so now, last example I want to go over here. We got this goal line coverage where it's like kind of like catch technique. So catch technique is where the DB is like 2 to 3 yards off, and he is in head up man coverage. So if he's head up and you have to run a whip route. So how would you run a whip route versus catch technique, head up man coverage? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video, think about what you want to do. All right, let's go over this. So first things first, when he's head up, especially when he's on the goal line, what do we know that about goal line coverage for a DB? We know that he's not going to do what? We know he's not going to backpedal, right? We know that if we attack this DB and we go try to step on his toes, he's going to sit right there because DBs are taught not to backpedal on goal line because we could just attack them and run a slant right in front of their face if they're backpedaling. And that's an easy touchdown. That's an easy throw because we don't need much space on the goal line. So if you're running a route like a whip route, what you would want to do in this specific case when it's man is you would want to attack him, but you wouldn't want to get too close. So if you guys said attack him, cut in front, and then whip back out, you would be correct. If you guys said something like, oh, do a diamond release where you attack his outside shoulder, that could work. It's just not necessary in this case. If this DB was inside shade, like he was lined up maybe like half a yard inside, then yes, you'd want to attack his outside shoulder, get him to flip, and then slip back underneath. Let's play this full speed. My apologies. So he comes at him, keeps range, and then is able to snap this thing off on this whip route. That's a great route there by Xavier Worthy. So you see, he attacks him. He doesn't go outside shoulder on the diamond release. If he was inside shade, that's what we would do. He attacks him, but he keeps range. He doesn't get too close to where this DB is going to get hands. He keeps a good range from him. That's because we know he's not going to backpedal on the goal line. I have to close space. I have to try to make him uncomfortable, but I need to keep some space so I don't get jammed. Because anytime that you attack a DB and you do some kind of patient release, DB coaches are teaching these guys, hey, just get hands on it. That disrupts the whole timing of the release. But if I keep range, if this DB wants to get hands, he's going to have to lunge at me and lose his base, which is another way that I can get separation by just swatting his hands. So we close space, make sure we keep a gap with him, and then we break underneath. And then it just comes down to selling the slant, running hard, getting this DB to commit, snapping this thing off, and then shooting back to the outside to win on that whip route. That's a great route there by this wide receiver. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Make sure, fellas, anytime that I'm running any route, the reason why we do this kind of thing is just so you guys know how to attack different leverages and know that the route that you run, the moves that you choose on a route, the things that you do on a route is based on the DB's leverage. It's not based on the type of the route. You're not doing XY release for XY route. It's based on the coverage of the DB, and that is what we have to react to. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Worthy selling this whip, dropping his hips, and knowing to attack this DB, but keep range.